Hello everyone, and welcome to the 6th of January, which I'm going to have a go at doing today. You can see the previous 5 days here, January the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. We've had a couple of very cold days here, very cold frosty days. So I've used some, I don't know if you can see in the light there, I've used some sort of glittery chainette yarn here. And for these snowflakes I've used a very fine sparkly thread, just to kind of give the impression of sparkling frost. I've stitched these stars in this very fine silver metallic thread, which is very difficult to work with. You can see how easily it breaks, it splits, and it's very fragile, it's very fiddly. So the way I went about doing these is I used a length of the silver thread and then one strand of something like stranded DMC floss. So if you just separate one strand out and imagine that's a whole length, if you use a strand of each, thread them both through the same needle. You might need a slightly bigger needle than normal just to get both ends through the eye. But if you stitch like that, you can see how much stronger that is. So if you let it travel through the needle with a little travelling companion, it's much stronger and much easier to work with. So that's how I've done these. It's one strand of fine white thread with a strand of the silver thread in the same needle. Okay, there's today's top tip. So let's have a look at numbers, January the 6th today, which is where we are here. And I've started off with one of my own hand-dyed fine cotton threads. And all I've done, you haven't missed anything, all I've done is a sort of wavy little line of running stitch here. So I've just turned it sideways just so I can get at it more easily, and I'm going to do another row of running stitch here. And by the way, the reason I'm doing them this way is because these stitches are very vertical, so I thought I'd do a little contrast by doing these stitches more horizontal. So I've got a choice here. I can either match this second row with the first row, so do the stitches directly underneath so they look like a stacked column, or I can stagger them by doing each stitch halfway between the last ones, which might be easier to see than explain. And I think, well, that is clearly what I'm doing. I've made the decision without thinking about it, which quite often happens. So I'm putting the next row of stitches sort of next to the gaps in the previous row. Okay, I'm going to carry on doing that for another few rows, and when I've decided what else we're doing, I'll stop and tell you. Okay, so I'll finish that off on the back. I'm just having a look at it, and I think what I'm going to do is that again in the bottom half. So I will do that, and then we'll decide what's going to happen in the middle. Last row, and I'm having a little game of thread chicken here. I think that's enough to do the row. Let's find out. Might be, it might not. Yes, of course it was. There are lots of options for filling that middle space. What I'm well, I haven't quite decided to do it. What I appear to be doing is I've chosen a slightly different, well, a different colour. It is a different colour. That's the blue and brown that did this one. That was fine cotton. This one is a silk pearl 12 in sort of, it's hand dyed silvery grey. Very pretty. And you can see I'm still going with this winter colour palette here. Just because, you know, that's what I've got when I look out of the window. If colours are different in your country at this time of year, then, you know, do whatever means something to you. So I appear to be doing a kind of blanket stitch here. And there is really no good reason for that I can think of, but there we go. And I notice as well, and for some reason I'm leaving a little space between this top ridge here and this last row of running stitch. I'm not sure if that's an accident or if that's intentional yet. I'm just going to get to the end of this line and then I'll have a look at it, because I think probably what I'm going to do next is this inverted along this edge. So I'm just going to take that down to the other side, just work my way down this edge to bring it up in that space opposite. Is that about right? Is that right? I'm just going to turn this round and then I'll do the same thing again the other way. Right. So, same thing again. And again, you've got a choice here. You can either match up these legs or you can do it so it's alternating like that. This thread needs untwizzling. Sometimes it does. You just ease it out and the twizzles will untwizzle. And sometimes it's caused by turning the needle as you manoeuvre it in and out of the fabric. I notice, for example, sometimes I have a tendency to exaggerate it, to do that, to twist the needle like that, to exaggerate. So if you find yourself doing that, slow right down and have a look at what your hands are doing. And if you find that you are turning the needle, then you can correct it as you stitch. So for me, that means every so often I do a little quarter turn of the needle, just roll it between my thumb and forefinger, and that helps to sort out the tendency for the thread to twist. Right, so that's those 2 rows of blanket stitch done, and I've decided that I'm going to fill in this little line here. So I've gone back to the blue and brown fine cotton, and I'm just filling in that line, just because I didn't really like the space. Sometimes you might want to leave a space on purpose. I think on this occasion I'd like it filled in a bit more. And I think what I'm also going to do is just pass this thread underneath these stitches here. For no particular reason. Okay, and then I've just got a little gap to fill in here. Try to do a quiet video and an aeroplane flies past right at your quietest moment. Right, there we go. I think that's done. So today it turned out to be just a pattern, just because, for no reason really. It doesn't, I don't think it means anything particularly. I'm not trying to do a picture of anything. It's just what comes out of the needle on the day. And I hope you're enjoying it, incidentally, if you're embarking on this kind of adventure this year. I've seen lots of really beautiful beginnings on Instagram, and I hope, if you've started it, I hope very much that you're enjoying it. So join me maybe later on, and maybe I will have got to here or down here somewhere by then.